This is a football podcast, man. Meat, football, good. Man, we talk football. We eat burgers.
Welcome back, one and all, to Scramble Drill. Normally it's a fantasy football show, but as soon as the NFL playoffs start and the fantasy season winds down, things sort of switch gears a little bit. We hop into real-life football analysis mode, I guess, and it's a blast because we get to flex some different muscles than usual, and this week we get to dive into the Super Bowl. We've got Ben, we've got Landon on here. Fellas, how we doing?
I'm excited. I'm nervous, but I'm excited. Also not used to being live on YouTube. That's weird.
It's a tough time when we're sitting here realizing we got one football game left. That's all we got.
Really,
guys.
football ended 2 weeks ago. We've discussed this before. Like, championship weekend is the last, true football weekend.
Right. The Super Bowl, everybody's watching the Super Bowl. Not everybody's watching the NFC. Non-football fans are not watching championship weekend, and it's more of like an American event than a specifically football event almost.
Yeah.
And then it's just 4, 5, 6 months of despair.
Despair.
It
does feel like that. It does feel like that.
We get moments. We get free agency. There'll be some trades. We'll get the draft. So we get moments. It is dynasty season.
For the NFL offseason to go down like the NBA offseason or trade deadline has happened thus far.
Trade deadline?
That would be crazy.
Josh, I told myself we're not going to get into Luka, so we can't do it. I told myself we wouldn't do it. Okay?
Man.
Oh, my gosh.
At this time of year, if you're talking about the NBA, I know the trade deadline is right now, but it just feels weird almost. And then you have something like that happen. It's like, oh, sort of shakes everything.
But I would love to see the NFL, when free agency opens up, something crazy like Garrett Wilson or somebody moves to a big time team or something like that. That'd be awesome.
Myles Garrett to Washington.
Yeah. I think it's Washington or Atlanta is going to get him right now. It's one of those two.
Anyways, we have the Super Bowl on this one. Fellas, I don't know how stoked you are about this game. First off, just general feelings, hot or cold. How do we feel about this game, this matchup, and all the things that could happen? I know we have seen some of our friends say stuff like, I hope nobody watches this game, hate this game, hate the matchup.
I have seen where Super Bowl tickets are lower than they have been in a while. Ticket prices dropped 30% the past couple weeks, I think. They were $8,500, now they're $6,000, which is interesting, at least.
I think, it is real that people are tired of the Chiefs, and just as sports fandom goes, I'm a Philly sports fan for baseball, but just as sports fandom goes, people don't like Philly sports fans typically, so they don't like Philly sports teams because of that, and so I could see that being the case this year.
Yeah. I don't like that this is a narrative heading into the game, but people are going to be so incredibly focused on the refs this game too. It's going to be you've got the union putting out statements that it's preposterous they favor the Chiefs and all that. People are going to be locked in on that, dude.
The point I've heard it several times this week. If you think the NFL, which is the NFL's the 32 owners, by the way, it's not some board of directors. It's the owners are the NFL. So if you think for some reason the NFL is pulling strings to make the Chiefs win and the refs are pulling strings to make the Chiefs win, I hope you have made a ton of money betting on the Chiefs. I hope you have just lined your pockets, and I hope you've put all your money on the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl if the NFL is rigging it for them.
Yeah. The thing is, I know the Patriots had their run, which was there's no way this will ever happen again, and it's currently happening again, which is just insane. But I know there was like this inevitability to Tom Brady's Patriots, and yet there is an inevitability to this version of the Chiefs, these last 3 years version of the Chiefs, where it's like, there's no reason they should continue winning games the way they continue to win them, and in the playoffs, and like in every single scenario. Like they win games in the playoffs on the road. They've won games as an underdog, as the betting favorite. They've won games like in a rock fight. They've won shootouts. Like they pretty much win every single type of game that you can come up with, and it's inevitable. It feels like it's like I don't know how they keep doing it, but for somehow, some way they keep doing it.
So, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Yeah. That brings us to, there's, I think, a few different ways this game could play out, but I am curious if the Eagles do pull this thing off, and it's not to say that they are like some sort of a crazy underdog or this is not a stacked team, because I think you almost have to look at it like, yes, the Chiefs have this whole thing going on, but like this Eagles team is very, very, very good, and they can certainly get it done. Landon, how do you, like, if the Eagles do pull it off, what are some of the things that you think will happen that would bring that about?
So, yeah, the Eagles absolutely can win the game. Like I said, it was impossible that the Texans beat them. The Bills could have beaten them, and the Eagles can beat them. If Washington would have won a couple weeks ago and been in this game, it would be impossible for them to win. Like, it would not be an outcome that could happen. But the Eagles, man, they are absolutely loaded. I think the most common outcome, or what I think is most likely to happen, is a one-score win for the Chiefs. I think that's the most likely outcome. I think the second most likely outcome would be a two-score victory for the Eagles, 2+ scores. I don't see a way they win a one-score game. I just don't see it. Not Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and Spags in the fourth quarter of a one-score game. I just don't see that happening. I think it could be a Eagles. If I was the Eagles, I would want to take the ball if I won the coin toss. Eagles score first drive. That offense is dynamic, obviously possible. And then they either force the 3 and out or a turnover, and then they go up 10, 14 points right away, and then can lean on them with Saquon. Chiefs haven't been great at stopping the run, but I almost attribute that more to they were kind of begging the teams they've played to run on them, and I just don't think that'll be the case. I don't think they're going to let Saquon break loose like he has so far this postseason. But I think if the Eagles are going to win, I think it is. I think they got to be up 10-0, 14-0, 17-3, something like that, and then just lean on them enough and stay ahead of them enough to where it's not a close game in the fourth quarter. Because if it's a close game in the fourth quarter, I'm pushing all my chips on red. All my chips on red at that point.
Yeah, I wrote 3 things down that have to happen for the Eagles to win. And as I was writing them down, I was like, initially I was like, if 2 of these 3 things happen, they will win. But then the more I've thought about it, the more I've been like, yeah, probably all 3 of these things need to happen in the same game for the Eagles to win. And it's not because they're not a good team. It's just that, like, you almost just have to have all your ducks in a row in order to pull this thing off. But the 3 things I have are, can they get consistent interior pressure rushing 4? Can you get pressure up the middle without blitzing consistently? And that's basically a Jalen Carter question. Is Jalen Carter going to put it upon himself to be a game wrecker? Because he can. Now that interior offensive line, exactly. That's, I think, that's a very big piece of this. Because, like, if he doesn't go, or if he's
playing,
he's going to play. But, like, if he's 60, 70% and he's, puking on the side, like, that could be a big deal. The other thing is, are they going to be able to run for 5.5 yards a carry? I think if you look at the entirety of the game, 5.5 seems like a lot.
That's a lot.
But I went and looked at the past 2 playoff games. The Texans ran for 5.1 a carry. The Texans ran for 150 yards. The Bills ran for 4.8 a carry. Also ran for 147 yards. So, like, they've allowed teams to run, and it hasn't mattered. Can the Eagles run for 5.5 a carry with Saquon Barkley? I think you have to have... I don't necessarily think that means you have to hit like 180 yards, 200 yards rushing, but I think you have to be able to run consistently on first and second down and kind of keep things rolling. And then the third thing is the Eagles have to win the turnover battle. I don't know that they can win this game in a game where the turnover battle is tied or they lose. I think you have to have a turnover advantage in order to pull it off. And so I was like, 2 of those things probably can happen. Like, if you get consistent pressure and you just maul them like the Bucs Super Bowl a few years ago, we have seen how that could happen. But this offensive line is a completely different offensive line than that one. I really think they've got to have all 3 of these things happen in the same game. You have to get consistent pressure rushing for, you have to run for 5.5 a carry, and you have to also win the turnover battle.
Yeah, I mean, it's an easy narrative to say, but it's got to be Jalen Hurts too. Because I first of all, I agree with you that Saquon is obviously the main cog. And I think they can do it because we saw what the past 2 games have. And I'm sorry, but you mean to tell me that the Bills' offensive line and James Cook is just as good as Saquon and the Eagles' offensive line? No, this is a much bigger undertaking. This is the best running back in football behind the best offensive line in football. That's a problem for the Chiefs. They haven't been amazing against the run. So I think they can easily do that. But I also, to Landon's point, agree 100% that Andy Reid and Spags are going to do everything they can to keep this thing close. And I agree, too, in a close game, if Josh Allen can't do it, Jalen Hurts isn't going to do it. I'm sorry. But I think in early key situations, it's going to be up to Jalen Hurts if Jalen Hurts can get them up big. Now, I know in the last Super Bowl they played, they were, what was it like? They were up 24-10 or something at some point. But also they didn't have Saquon Barkley at that point. But it's going to be up to Jalen Hurts when they get in those third downs to get them up big.
There's just no way. There's no way. If it is a 1-score game in the fourth quarter, if you think at that point the Eagles are going to win, you just care nothing about what has happened in the NFL the last 7 years.
No, that is not what I'm saying at all. Like I do not think they win a close game.
No, I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying if this game is close in the fourth quarter, if the Eagles win, it will be shocking. It will be shocking. I think the most likely scenario in the game is like the Eagles are up 1 score at the half. You know, they're up 3 points. They're up 7 points. And then the Chiefs win by 1 score. I think that if I had to choose, that would probably be the most likely thing. I truly believe it is more likely that the Eagles win by 2 scores than they win by 1 score. We've seen it enough from Reid, Mahomes.
No, I think the only way they win a 1-score game is it's got to be a fluke that happens. Because if they're down up 3 in the fourth quarter and Mahomes has got the ball, like the only way they win that is the ball's going to bounce off somebody's hands and get picked. That's the only way they win that.
Yeah. Or like it is a 2-score game and the Chiefs score and don't get the onside kick or something like that. Like that. Yeah. That's the only way. The thing is, I think Spags has laid out a game plan against the Texans and the Bills. I think he said every time they hand it to James Cook or Joe Mixon, we're happy. Like we are presenting a defense where you need to run. Like we're trying to get the ball out of Josh Allen's hands. We're trying to get the ball out of C.J. Stroud's hands. We're going to force you to run it. I don't think they do that this game. I think they are going to...
because that's exactly what the Eagles want.
Yes. So I think they're going to try to force them to throw it. So that's why I think that they haven't been good at stopping the run, But I think that's almost by design. Not that they want to give up a bunch of rushing yards, but they were presenting looks that said, you've got to run. We're not going to let you throw. I think that flips, and I think, man, the pressure is going to be on Hurts. The pressure is going to be on Hurts, and the pressure is going to be on Hurts not escaping and scrambling. I still think he can do that. The pressure is going to be on him to not take sacks because he just does not look quick and agile in the pocket. He just doesn't. His sprint speed, I think, is fine, but for whatever reason, this knee injury, he's just not moving well in the pocket, and that's a problem when you have Chris Jones sitting in your lap.
I am curious.
And Chris Jones didn't even get that many sacks. It's Karlaftis and those guys.
Yeah. I'm curious how y'all feel. I agree, yes, Hurts is going to have to be impactful, but I'm trying to figure out, like, what is the scenario where he balls out and the Chiefs offense doesn't get going? Because I guess I just can't imagine a scenario where they get stopped by the Eagles defense when they have to have it. Like, if the Eagles offense is killing it and they come out and they're doing what they want, I can't imagine a scenario where Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes and company can't keep pace, regardless of the defense. Like, I don't care who the defense is. I don't care if it's the 85 Bears. I just feel like they can get what they want. They have healthy pieces. They can just do whatever they want. It's a matter of, like, can they score or can they move down the field in scenarios when they don't, like, have to have it. Because I think the thing with them is they sort of get lulled to sleep sometimes, and you'll get, like, a random 3-and-out or a random, 6 plays and punt where you don't have to have it right then and there, but it would be really nice, and they don't get it. But then when it comes back to them and they really have to have it, they come through. And I just feel like if Jalen Hurts has a great game, throws for 300+, rushes for 50+, 2 touchdowns, whatever, if he has a great game like that and we're like, man, Jalen Hurts brought his A game, I just can't imagine a scenario where he brings his A game, but Patrick Mahomes doesn't, and they don't keep it going, tit for tat.
We've literally already seen that.
Exactly.
We've literally already seen that in a Super Bowl where the Eagles score 35 and the Chiefs technically score 31, I guess, but they had the pick 6 or the fumble 6 based off Jalen Hurts. So, yeah, we've literally already seen that play out.
I did write down some things that will have to happen.
Okay, I do still think I was going to say that. I still think that's it. It could happen just because I think the Eagles are more talented at basically every other position than the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I really think that. Outside of Mahomes,
they are.
Over Hurts, the Eagles roster, it's the same thing as against Washington. They're better at every single spot.
I'm not sure if I would go that far, but I hear what you're saying. They are talented up and down the roster.
I'm interested to see, if I had to guess, what the Chiefs are going to do when they are selling out, essentially not selling out, but really trying to stop the run. My guess is they're going to ask their corners to just play one-on-one at times, not the whole game, but at times against A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. They're going to ask Trent McDuffie, all right, hold on. It's 3rd and 6.
Yeah.
Trent, hold it down. The problem with A.J. Brown is he can catch a 3-yard hitch, and that can be a first down in a hurry because he's just so hard to tackle. I'm really interested to see how the Chiefs decide to match up with Smith and A.J. Brown if they are trying to stop the run.
I'm curious how much they're going to play man. Like, I feel like the way that you would want to defend this is play a lot of zone and play, like, relatively conservative and just sort of let some of these pass rushers tee off on them. But it's not an offensive line that you're just going to get consistent pressure on. You're going to have to scheme pressures, which we know Spags does. Like, that's his bread and butter. But still, it's you're going to have to pick spots. And they do this. They do this so well. They pick spots and they blitz in opportune situations. But it's like, it's kind of the same thing with the Eagles defending the Chiefs. Like, is anybody going to get pressure, not blitzing? I don't know that anybody's getting pressure without blitzing. I think your pressure is going to come from blitzes for everybody. But Yeah. I don't know that you can play man-to-man. I know Trent McDuffie's a all-pro, but like
A.J. Brown is a heck of a panic
run a
button
whole
in
lot
those
of
man-to-man situations. A.J. go get it.
I mean, they throw
Smith
that.
can beat zone. Smith's a zone beater.
Certainly. Yeah. No, they throw that. They go down the field on the sideline to A.J. Brown against everyone, and he kills them.
Yeah. They're going to need a couple splash plays. Out of A.J. Brown. They had a big one. Remember, he had a touchdown like at the front pylon against the Chiefs in the last Super Bowl. They're going to need a big play.
I think the Chiefs do not do well against tight ends when they did that. So the last Super Bowl, I think they jumped up like that big shot to A.J. Brown put them up like 14-0. I think
it might have.
Maybe. I think it was 24-14 at the half. I want to say that was the score at the half of the last Super Bowl. I think the first quarter is extremely important because let's say at the end of the first quarter, it's 14-3 Eagles. The Chiefs are not panicked. Like the Chiefs, that's not where they want to be, but they're not panicked. If it's 14-3 Chiefs,
yeah,
dude,
there's
going to be some sweaty palms on the sideline. I mean, I don't know what they do at that point. I mean, you got to stick with Saquon, but like they're going to be deer in headlights at that point.
Yeah.
So I think the first quarter is really big for the Eagles. That's why I said I would take the ball. If I got the coin toss, I would take the ball. And if I'm the Chiefs, I'm fine with them having the ball. But
see, I would almost want to defer because that flip at the half, where if you can score and go up at halftime and then get the ball in the second half and score again, I know it doesn't always happen, but getting a 10-point swing, a 14-point swing, or something where maybe you go into halftime and it's 17-14 Eagles and they score again and you go up 24-14. You got a 10-point lead in the third quarter. The Chiefs, for how great they are, they tend to go into these third quarter lulls sometimes where if it's going to be a 2-score Eagles win and they string together like 3 touchdown drives at the end of the first half and then first 2 in the third quarter, and you look up and it's 31-17 going into the fourth, that's not great. It's not a panic button moment because I don't think you can ever press the panic button, but it's one of those things where it's like, that's when it gets hairy.
You can't give the ball back to Saquon at that point. No.
Yeah, I just think game script works better for the Eagles if they have a lead, and I just think jumping out to a lead is big for them. If I was them, I would take the ball, but who knows? Who knows what they do?
I wrote down a couple things that would have to happen for the Chiefs to win. Obviously, there's probably a lot of things that could happen where they would win. But the first one is just game is within reach in the fourth quarter. I think we would all agree if it's a close game, it's pretty hard to bet against them. It just doesn't matter the scenario.
If Mahomes can touch that bell, he's going to ring it.
Yeah. The other thing is don't lose the turnover battle. I went and found some crazy stats about turnover margin with them. In their past, I guess this is like 3 seasons, they're 34-1 when tied or winning the turnover margin. They're 14-9 when losing the turnover margin. So I think
34-1.
34-1 when they win the turnover margin.
Let me see if I can think when it was the one loss. Y'all keep going.
I don't remember the one loss, but it
be
brought
the
to mind the Bills game.
Would be the one I would think of.
Maybe. It brought to mind, though, the Bills game this year.
I know what it was.
When they ended up losing by a score on that Josh Allen touchdown run at the end of the game. Patrick Mahomes threw 2 picks in that game.
I'm almost positive it would have been the Lions game week 1 last year. Almost positive.
Because he had
it was a pick 6
that bounced off.
Yep.
Yeah. It was a pick 6. I think they turned the Lions over a couple times. But the Chiefs lost. I'm not. You can keep going, but I'm pretty sure that's what it would have been. But
anyway, you pretty much have to win the turnover margin, or you're not going to win. Like that's. I take away from that. Like you've got to put them in rough situations because I think Landon's mentioned this a few times. It's in the close game in the fourth quarter. Is Nick Sirianni going to be? Is he going to be nails for you? I don't know, but I do know this. Andy Reid, Spags, Mahomes, they're great in the fourth quarter. They never make mistakes. And so
situational football, every single time they're going to win. 10 out of 10 times in the situational football, they win.
And they might have the best kicker in the league, or one of the 3 best kickers in the league too. So there's they just don't
now. But that's a different conversation.
Yeah. That's a different podcast.
Oh, yeah.
That's our after midnight podcast.
Yeah.
We've also said this one too. They're 17-0 in their last 17 one-score games. So we know this. You know, I went back and looked, and it kept saying 17, and so I was thinking it was 18 in my head, but I don't know.
I've got a stat for you.
Hit me with it.
So my daughter is 13 months old.
Okay.
In her lifetime, in games where Patrick Mahomes starts, the Chiefs have 1 Super Bowl victory and 1 loss. If they win this weekend, they will have 2 more Super Bowl wins than losses in my daughter's life.
That's ridiculous.
More Super Bowl wins than total losses.
That's unbelievable.
In a 13-month stretch. That's the world we live in, guys. That is the world we live in, where they win every game.
Saquon, you've got to stop this, man. You've got to stop them.
You got to do
You've
something.
got to stop them, brother.
Oh,
it's got to stop.
Do something.
So yeah.
So I mean, sub in the Bengals if we need to. Something.
Yeah.
I'm
really
sure they would be
Jamar
happy
now.
I really
Trade
do
Jamar
think
and Burrow now. Burrow and Jamar with this roster, we're cooking.
Yeah.
Okay, I know it's the Chiefs, but if you put Burrow and Jamar Chase on that roster, they would not lose a game ever.
Give me the Eagles. Yeah, give me the Eagles.
Take them that time. Good Lord. Okay, that's a side note though.
That'd be terrifying. Yeah, I really think it comes down to turnovers. We've been talking about that all playoffs though. Like
that's what it is.
I guess the 4th down turnover is different, but like the Bills didn't technically turn it over. Like nobody fumbled. Josh Allen didn't throw any picks. Mahomes did fumble, and the Chiefs won.
They had 5 fumbles that they recovered and like 3 passes that should have been picks. But yeah, somehow they dodged the turnover bug there.
I'm not hearing throughout this conversation many scenarios that it works out for the Eagles. Like every time we talk, it's like the Eagles got to blow them out. You got to blow them out.
I think you got to win by 2 scores. I think you have to win by 2 scores. I do not trust. I do not trust Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni. If it's a 4-point game with 8 minutes left in the Super Bowl, and Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are standing on the other sideline, I mean, come on. What do you want me to say? I don't think they win that game. Now, they are good enough to win by 2 scores. They are good enough to just dominate them, to push them around.
The Eagles can blow them out. I'm not saying they will, but they can.
Yes.
Because they are better.
Yes. Like I said, I think
better,
the
but you know
most
what I
likely
mean.
outcome, the most likely outcome is a Chiefs 1-score victory. The second most likely outcome, I think, is a multiple score victory by the Eagles.
A close victory is, like I said, it's something fluky happens or Mahomes gets hurt.
Well,
I mean, yeah.
That's the easiest way. If we're going to be honest, that's the easiest way to win.
Put Carson Wentz in there.
We're going to have to shoot him.
Oh, revenge game. Carson Wentz, massive. He Nick Foles' the Eagles. Nick Foles took his spot and won a Super Bowl. He's going to take
the
Mahomes'
storyline
spot
we're not
and
talking
beat
about.
The Eagles. Why has no one brought this up? Why are we the first people to discover this?
What? Do you put a statue
What if that happened?
Outside Arrowhead?
Yes. They run the Kansas City special. He catches a touchdown, and there is a Carson Wentz has a statue at Arrowhead before Patrick Mahomes.
That's
Dude,
insane.
that would be awesome. That would be awesome. Like, obviously, I'm a Mahomes guy. I want Mahomes to do it.
Not wanting Mahomes to get hurt, but that'd be cool.
Carson
that would be really
Wentz Super Bowl MVP against the Eagles would be the great... I'd have to go through the list, but that might be the greatest revenge game in the history of sports. I have to go through the list.
That would be pretty fantastic.
Like, the greatest... You dumped me. You sent me to Indianapolis to die, and I beat you in a Super Bowl. Oh, my gosh.
I'm trying to think.
I'd have to go through the list. Yeah,
nothing.
It had to be
basketball.
Comes to mind. Probably the only one that we could. But
let's look at legacy pieces here.
I got one. I actually have one, but it's baseball. We'll skip them. Frank Robinson.
What do we do if? What do we do with Jalen Hurts if the Eagles pull this one off?
You've got a lot of doing with him right now.
Okay, what are we doing?
I think we'll disagree on this.
I guess where I come with it is, I know the conversation is going to be different around Jalen Hurts if he pulls this off. But unless I will hold this out there. Unless he is the reason, and when I say he's the reason, I mean like he has a big game, and in the big moment, in a tight game with Mahomes, he makes a play to win, I'll give it to you. We can have a completely different conversation. But if they win by 2 scores, this ain't, I mean, you just had a better team than the Chiefs. I don't feel like you beat Mahomes. I don't feel like, I mean, there's multiple, like more than quarterbacks than I have fingers on my hand that would be better than him on his own team. I don't know.
Yeah,
you add Saquon Barkley, and the offense takes off. They didn't have Saquon last year. They had DeAndre Swift. As much as I love DeAndre Swift, you didn't make the playoffs last year.
I looked it up. Yeah. This is crazy. They have outrushed every team they've played this year.
I'm not shocked.
Yeah, I mean they've got.
It's not
Hurts
shocking at all.
Barkley.
That's how they win. But like every single game, they've outrushed their opponent.
That also means they typically dictate the game flow, which is a big deal for this game. I will have to say, if he wins the game and anything more than 140 yards and no touchdowns, like if he's just okay, like if he's 190 yards, touchdown throwing, touchdown rushing, if he does that and they win, I will not believe it in my heart, but I will have to say he's the 5th best quarterback in the world.
I don't feel like you have to say that.
I will have to say it. If you beat Patrick Mahomes in a playoff game, the list goes Tom Brady, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts. And I'm sorry, that's enough. I've not seen anyone else do it. I understand that the team is ridiculous, right? He's their 8th best player or whatever. I don't have that in my head, but I'm just throwing something out there. But if he does it, man, he's been a starter for 5 years? He's made 2 Super Bowls. He's won 1. There's not a long list of guys that have done it. And the start of his career is kind of a lot like Russell Wilson, really. I've heard that comparison some this week. It's a pretty dang good one. Like, Russell was not the best player on that team. He had an insane defense. He had Marshawn Lynch, and he did enough. I'm going to have to – in my heart, I will think Jalen's better than him. I will think Matthew Stafford's better than him. I will think probably a couple more people are better than him. But I think he gets to hold the crown as the 5th best. I'm not going to put him in the tier of the top 4, but he gets to be the next guy if he wins the Super Bowl and beats the Chiefs, who are 15-1 when they try to win. No, 17-1 when they try to win.
Here's the thing with his legacy. Jalen Hurts' legacy is still riding on the previous Super Bowl appearance. 2 years ago, when he throws for 300 yards and a touchdown against the Chiefs, that was the moment where everybody's like, oh, maybe we have something here with this guy. And then he pretty much went back to, well, I mean...
Yeah.
And that's kind of the conversation around Jalen Hurts right now. It's like, he's good, but...
That's where he is right now. But, guys, you win a Super Bowl, and I changed my opinion.
That's the thing is...
I'll change my opinion if he is the one to do it. if he beats Mahomes at Mahomes' game and gets that close game, makes the play to win it, yes. But he's got to do that before I change my mind.
I almost think you got to see a repeat of 2 years ago. He's got to have because he's not, I know he's been efficient. He's not turning the ball over. He's essentially just doing everything you need him to do. He is, this year, he's been a very, very good game manager. He also happens to add in an element of rushing that's difficult to deal with, and you have the whole tush-push piece. But as a guy that's going to go out and, pick apart an opposing defense, that's not really been his thing. He hasn't shown that.
Mahomes has more completions than Hurts has attempts.
Yeah.
I mean, come on now.
I know. You have two different conversations.
And Mahomes wasn't even at the top of passing this year. Mahomes was in the middle.
This was a terrible year. This was a terrible
3,900 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this was a bad year by Mahomes standards, at least statistically. The team success, he didn't need to be amazing because they kept winning games, but statistically, it was a terrible year by his standards.
At a certain point, man, he's made 2 Super Bowls, and if he wins one, I don't know. I guess I kind of treat it like if I was to rank my quarterbacks that I would want on Washington, he would not be my 5th choice. He wouldn't be. But I almost treat accomplishments of NFL quarterbacks kind of like a boxing championship belt or a UFC championship belt, where if you do this, you get to hold this belt. Even if I don't believe it, you've earned it. You won a Super Bowl. And I'm not going to put him in that top 4, but and I'll think Jaden's better than him. I'll think a few guys are better than him. But, dude, at a certain point, you got to get credit for winning a Super Bowl. I don't care how good your team is. If Purdy would have won it last year, I would not have thought he was in that class. But you almost have to say, the dude won the Super Bowl. That's what the NFL's about for quarterbacks. Yeah. It is all about Super Bowls. It is not about Pro Bowls. It's not about yards. It's not about touchdowns. It is about Super Bowls. But I like the comparison of Russell Wilson, and that's kind of the start to a career he's had.
Yeah, I guess the thing with him is Russell Wilson had that shift in trajectory where after that Legion of Boom era, he turned into a perennial MVP candidate, where it's he was kind of the game manager, and then it turned into got 3 or 4 years where Russ was a lot of people thought. I remember the conversations were had he's the best quarterback to never get an MVP vote. That people were saying that for 3 or 4 years, and then he goes to Denver and everything kind of falls apart. But
yeah,
Jalen,
it's not true anymore.
No, it's not true anymore.
It's not true anymore.
No, that one.
Well, I guess no. Allen's got votes. Allen's had votes. He's just never won it.
Yeah, no, that ship sailed. Yeah. But there was a 3-year stretch. It was dang, this dude's really good.
Yeah. I think if you start in your first 5 years, if you make 2 Super Bowls, and you have a top 2 MVP finish in there, man, we gotta. Even though my eyes don't say it, my eyes don't see it, it's just hard to deny. I guess that's where he's accomplished.
Where I am is because I agree with you. You have to technically say it because he's done it. But I know he's not. I know he's not.
What?
I can.
Yeah.
You put Jalen Hurts on the Bills, they don't make the playoffs. You put Jalen Hurts on just about any other team, and this is not the case. Maybe if you put him on the Lions, who are one of the best rosters, sure. But if you don't put him on one of the best rosters, in your heart of hearts, there's 5, 6, maybe 7 guys more deserving of this award. But I guess I understand the argument. I know, and I know what I see and know what I know, that he's not that guy. But you're going to have to say he is.
Yeah. And that's a little bit where I'm at. It's Man, it's just because of how important winning a Super Bowl is for an NFL quarterback. Like, if it was anything else, like if he comes short this week, if they don't win, that changes everything. Like, but that's just showing how important Super Bowls are to NFL quarterbacks. It's not like he's Trent Dilfer, you know. He's not the 22nd best quarterback in the league. You know, he's probably somewhere between 8 and 13.
Yeah.
You know, like somewhere in there. And so, but if he accomplishes a Super Bowl, it's just such a huge deal in the NFL when you're talking about legacies that, like, man.
So then Mahomes, if he wins and they pull off the three-peat, do we start having conversations on Monday morning about who's the GOAT? Is it to that point yet, or does he still need to do more?
They're already happening, so I don't know why we would start having the conversation on Monday.
Yeah.
Do we have a definitive answer in that conversation? Let's put it that way.
Yes, there is a definitive answer. There is a definitive answer, and if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl this year, Tom Brady is the GOAT. That is the definitive answer.
At 29, you can't get it just yet.
Yeah, I just think we have to show respect for what Tom Brady accomplished. Tom Brady accomplished something where you can't do it in 7 years. You can't climb that mountain in 7 years. You just can't. Now, I will say this. Monday morning, if the Chiefs win, I will say definitively there's a greater chance than not that Patrick Mahomes finishes as the greatest quarterback to ever live. I will think it's more likely than not that he does, but he won't have yet. The Bucs Super Bowl for Brady, I mentioned it last time we talked. Dude, that saved it. Because if the Chiefs would have won, Tom would have 6, and Patrick would be trying to win 5 in 3 days. Like, there's already no discussion at that point.
Yeah.
There's not even a debate, and he's played 7 years. But Tom beat him. We have to show respect to what Tom Brady did for 22, however many years it was in the NFL. So I will still say it's Tom, but I mean, what else could Patrick have done in 7 years to put him in this position?
I try and put this run in perspective. Yeah,
that's true.
I try and put this run in perspective, and like, I know the Patriots were the dynasty for 20 years or whatever it was, but they had like ebbs and flows. They had a
valley.
Right.
They went a decade without winning.
Yeah. But this is 7 straight years where if they're not the betting favorite to win, they're like if it's not them, they're 2, you know?
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
He's had the greatest 7-year stretch in the history of the NFL at quarterback. It just happens to be his first 7 years.
It will put to rest any arguments of 2. For sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to put Montana over him. Like, you can't put any of those guys over him.
I mean, Skip Bayless.
Oh, God.
Skip Bayless
is going to have him like 8th all time.
He'll tell you, Roger Staubach.
Is it 2016 where we still respect Skip Bayless as a pundit?
Oh
my God.
Skip's going to come in here and try and throw Randall Cunningham in the conversation. We're like, Skip.
I would, honestly, if the Chiefs win, I would pitch in for Fox to give him a half-hour segment on one of their shows. Just let him go and tell me how Mahomes isn't that good and how Joe Burrow's still better.
Oh, I bet he would. I bet he would put Jalen Hurts over Mahomes. Right now,
if Dak Prescott was on the Chiefs, they would have won 5 Super Bowls by now. Or what? No, he doesn't like Dak. He's kind of out on Dak or whatever.
Yeah.
But just tell me how Roger Staubach would have. Troy Aikman was better than Patrick Mahomes. I would love to hear it. But, but as Ben was saying, you can go back. The number 2 is not up for grabs anymore.
I don't think it is now, but if he has 4, there's definitely no argument.
Yeah. You've also got the Andy Reid and the Travis Kelce legacy part of this. If they win on Sunday, Andy Reid has now let me get this straight. He's appeared in, is it 5 or 6 Super Bowls?
6.
6. He will have 4. Was it?
4 rings.
4 rings. There we go. Had
4
a little brain
rings.
fart there. So it's him or Bill. And I don't know. I don't know if you start having conversations about greatest coach ever, but like he's at 300 wins already. I think Bill is he's not going to catch him. I think he needs like 2 more years or something like that to catch Bill, but
I agree.
He's pretty much right there.
I agree with something Landon said last week or 2 weeks ago when we were talking about the Bill or about the conference championship games. Is Andy did it without Mahomes. He was great before Mahomes. Bill was great with Brady. And then after that, it kind of fell apart. But Andy was good before.
I think their legacies, I mean, it just shifted, right? So when Bill started with the Patriots, it was a defensive league. The rules favored the defense. You could do whatever. You could tug. You could. The defense owned the middle of the field. Middle linebackers and safeties owned the middle of the field. And he won all the Super Bowls. And Andy never won because he was an offensive guy. And he didn't have his quarterback. And then I think we should give Bill some credit for the last couple Super Bowls. It was an offensive league at that point, and now he had Tom Brady. So it's like he had a pretty good brain manning it. But he still that last Super Bowl they won 13-3.
The Rams Super Bowl. God.
Yeah.
That was a rock.
And the Rams were a ridiculous offense.
Yes. Ridiculous. Now Todd Gurley had arthritic knees by that point, but
yeah, he didn't play.
But Bill, he held a team to 3 points in the Super Bowl. A Sean McVay led team to 3 points in the Super Bowl. And so, but my point is, when it was a defensive league, Bill won all the Super Bowls. It switches to offense, Andy wins all the Super Bowls. Like, these are 2 truly great coaches. But I'm kind of going to feel like what I said with Mahomes. I think if the Chiefs win this week, I think it's more likely than not Andy finishes as the greatest coach of all time when it's all said and done.
I'm curious how y'all feel about I think a lot of the narratives coming into this have been like everybody's tired of the Chiefs winning just the same way they were with the Patriots. Like people just so annoyed that they're in it every single year. And I have seen, I mean, it's the narrative for the Chiefs has just been ref stuff, but it's the same thing. But I've seen a lot of pushback from some ex-players where they're just like, guys, you're witnessing something that's incredible. Like you're witnessing greatness. And paired with that, a lot of people are pointing out that like basically all these Super Bowls are won by the same people anyway. So just like get over yourself. I think it was something like 14 of the last 20 Super Bowls have been won by Mahomes, Brady, or what was the other name?
Stafford.
Peyton. I think it was Peyton Manning, maybe.
Yeah, Manning got 2. Yeah.
I think it was 14 of the last 20 have been Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. It's like it's the same guys everywhere or every year anyway. So, you know, get over yourself. I don't know how y'all feel about that. If it's like I'm tired. I know Landon is not tired of
No, I'm not.
Of the dynasty, but
tired.
maybe this is more of a Ben question. Is there like fatigue, or is it just have you resigned yourself to it?
There is, I mean, not resign myself to it. I understand they're going to, but I want somebody else to do it, and I specifically want Josh Allen to do it because he's my favorite player. It's weird. It's tough when you're not a fan. Not like, I guess not a fan is not the word, but I like other guys better. And it's harder to be a fan of Patrick Mahomes when you're a fan of Josh Allen because he always beats him. So I do want some, and I like Joe Burrow. I really enjoyed when Joe Burrow beat him, and it was the Rams and it was the Bengals because it was new, it was exciting. It was chances for, hey, Burrow's arrived, he's here. Hey, can Stafford beat the old, Detroit sucks. He's not it's them the problem, not him. So that was, I enjoyed that too. So you're watching greatness, but I would like to see somebody else in there too.
Yeah, It happened so fast. It happened so fast. I remember 20 minutes ago, everyone was pulling for the Chiefs to beat Brady. 20 minutes ago. And now everyone, gosh, maybe I'm just forgetting. I mean, people hated Tom. Like, people legit hated the Patriots. But it feels different now with the Chiefs. Like, I don't want to say it feels worse, but it's just different. I don't know what it is.
It's the Taylor Swift piece. It's the dominance piece. I think
Taylor does not help things.
That does not help things.
There's a lot of people that just hate her, and then they're like, "Oh, Travis Kelce's like," and then it's just, "Oh, we hate the Chiefs." But there's also the inverse, where a bunch of Swift fans got into the Chiefs because of her, and so I think people are also annoyed that there's that part of it too, where like non-football fans showed up, came to football for the first time.
Go away, go away.
Right? Yeah, I've seen that a lot.
Here's something that not a lot of people talk about, and this is another reason people don't like the Chiefs. I saw this on Nick Wright made this point on TV. They've beaten everyone out of the AFC. Like, in the last 7 years, your team's last best chance to win the Super Bowl, the Chiefs ended it. All of them, including the Bengals. The last time the Bengals won the AFC Championship game, they beat them. All their division, they have crushed in the last 7 years. The Titans AFC Championship game, beat them. Bills, Ravens, beat them. Dolphins last year, beat them. Who else? Oh, Texans this year, beat them. Jaguars, when the one time Trevor won a playoff game, beat them. They have beaten your team every time. The Colts, the last time when Andrew Luck's last game, they beat them. Now the Colts made the playoffs since then, but the Chiefs have ruined it for everyone. And then the only teams they haven't beaten out of the playoffs is the Jets, who are terrible, and the Patriots.
They haven't made
it. But Patriots fans don't like them because they're chasing their dynasty. So, like, there's a reason. Like, they have ruined everyone's last best chance to win the Super Bowl.
31 of 32 fan bases do not like you.
Do not like you at all.
Now, except there's a couple fan bases. There are a couple fan bases we pull it for because Washington does not like the Eagles. The Giants do not like
Washington,
the
Eagles. Dallas, and New York are pulling for you.
Well, it's so funny that it's Philly meeting them, because I feel like because Philly's been here before, you don't have like the upstart kind of thing. There's a little bit of that, but I feel like the Eagles are kind of here every year. I know they fell on their face last year, but you sort of feel like Philadelphia's in this spot recently quite a bit. You've got the full Super Bowl. They were here 2 years ago.
No.
It's not like it's, oh, yippee, you get this upstart team that can go knock them off. It's kind of like, yeah, it's the Eagles. So I feel like there's not a ton of excitement on the flip side. I know there's some, but it's not what it could have been if the Lions would have made it. If the Lions would have made it, everyone, including some Chiefs fans, would be like, we need the Lions to get one.
Right. Oh, everybody yes, absolutely. I do hope, and it's not going to happen. I get it. For like people who aren't super fans that are just kind of casual and just hate the Chiefs because everyone else hates the Chiefs, it won't happen for them. But I do hope if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl this year, people take a step back and say, like, think about what they just witnessed over the last 7 years. Like, this is MJ in his prime. This is LeBron going to 100 straight finals. This is like true greatness. Like, this just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in the first 7 years of someone's career. And I mean, I hope people take it in, but they probably won't. Who knows? There'll probably be a call in the second quarter, and that'll be the reason the Eagles win, obviously. It won't be the 15-yard touchdown Mahomes throws as time expires. It'll be the holding penalty in the second quarter.
I will say, I kind of do want to see the Chiefs make the history. I mean, that's going to be something cool to watch. If they really can do that and three-peat, that will be cool. I do hope it's somebody else next year. I really do. 2025, it needs to be somebody else.
And I think I told Ben this last week after the show, if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl and they three-peat and Mahomes has 4 in 7 years, if they play the Ravens or Bills next year, I'll be pulling for the Ravens or Bills. Like, I like Josh Allen and Lamar. I just like Mahomes more. But if he has a 4 Super Bowl head start, I'm fine with him losing one.
I want to close this one out with some picks. Who do we think is going to win? What's the score? I'll pitch it to Ben first.
Ooh. I did not think as much ahead of this as I should, but I'm going to go. I do think the game's going to be close, and I do think the Chiefs are going to win a close game. I'm going to say something along the lines of 25-22 Chiefs.
Interesting. That's got to be a scoregami game.
It's going to be interesting. Something weird's going to happen. It always happens with the Chiefs and the Eagles. Like, something weird will happen.
Ooh, yeah. I got the Chiefs by 4 more points than the Eagles score. I don't know what it'll be. If it's 17-13, great. If it's 37-33. If I had to guess, I would say something similar to the Bills, 30, 31, 27, something like that. But it'll be 4 points, whatever it is.
I had 24-20.
It'll be 4 points. Yeah.
I think the defenses will prevail a little bit to where the Eagles will move the ball, but Spags is going to contain them enough, and the Chiefs are going to do just enough to win the game.
I do think it'll be relatively low scoring considering, 24-20, it's not like nobody's scoring points, but it's not a shootout.
I'd love another 38-35. I would love that.
That would be lovely. I don't think we're getting it, but that would be lovely. I just think that each defense is going to have moments or stretches when they start to figure something out, but I also think it's going to be a push and pull game. I think the offenses will figure things out at points, and then the defenses will counter with something, and it'll just be, I think it's just a chess match game, and I'm just curious how it comes out. But I've got Chiefs 24-20.
We could get a high-scoring one. I saw today Mahomes has faced the number 1 passing defense in the playoffs 3 times. He's 3-0. The Chiefs score 37 a game. His passer rating is 108, and he's got like a billion touchdowns and 1 interception. Like, he's done, and the Eagles are the number 1 pass offense, or pass defense. So we've seen him torch defenses before, and I know it hasn't looked the same the past 2 years. But when he needed to score 30 last week or 2 weeks ago, he did. So
they hadn't scored 30 all year until then.
He hadn't scored 31, yeah. And so, he'll score 4 more points than the Eagles. I don't know what it'll be. It'll be 4 more points. Whatever he has to
do. There is one thing of note, not Super Bowl related. The NFL Honors is tonight, so we will find out who wins the MVP.
Who do we think it's going to be?
I don't even know who to pick, honestly, because the criteria changes. It felt like it changed. Yeah. If we go by the same criteria last year, it should be Josh Allen. But are they going to go by that criteria? Because everybody in the media seems to think it's Lamar Jackson.
I think it'll be Lamar. I think it should be Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen was the most valuable player. Lamar got first-team All-Pro, and that typically means you win the MVP. So
interesting.
I think it'll be Lamar.
I think it should be. I think it should be Josh. I'm with you. I think Lamar gets it, but I thought Josh should got it last year. I think Lamar should get it this year, but based on the criteria, it needs to be Josh this year. But they're probably going to give it to Lamar.
I'm looking up right now how many quarterbacks in NFL history have 3 MVPs.
Favre has got 3. Manning's got 3.
Manning, Brady.
Does Brady have 3?
Is that it?
Brady has 3. No, there's Aaron Rodgers.
Surely Montana got. Yeah, you're right.
Montana
we
won
have
2.
Johnny Unitas, Jim Brown, Favre, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, Brown's not a quarterback, so Unitas is the only one we missed.
Yep.
How many of those quarterbacks haven't won Super Bowls? Did Favre win a Super Bowl?
None of them. Favre won 1, yeah. And he got to another. Rodgers won 1.
That gets back to Landon's argument, like, you got to win a Super Bowl before you get 3 MVPs now.
You can't win 3. Come on. You can't win 3. And it's not like his team's been super overmatched in the playoffs. He's supposed to have either won or been like a 1-point underdog in these.
The
losses.
Ravens are the Eagles.
He
of
was
the
favored
AFC.
against the Bills.
Like, y'all always have the best team in the NFC.
Yeah, but the Ravens underachieve every year. The Eagles don't.
That's true. This is true.
Anyways, I got one stat.
He needs it.
I got one stat before we close. Here's a stat before we close. George Karlaftis, not only has he never lost a playoff game, and it's year 3, and he's made it every year, he is ahead in all-time playoff sacks. He is already passed J.J. Watt, Aaron Donald, who won a Super Bowl, and Lawrence Taylor, who won 2 Super Bowls.
Yes, because he's played in 10 playoff games, I think.
He's played in 100 games. But my guess is Lawrence Taylor played in that many games. He won 2 Super Bowls. That's why I said that. Like, these guys played in some playoff games. J.J. Watt played in 100 first rounds. No second rounds, but 100 first rounds.
They made the first year.
Second rounds.
They made the first round and got bounced every single year in Houston.
He made 1 second round.
That 4:30 Saturday game for.
It's when they beat Josh Allen that one year.
Was he on the team then?
I think that might have been his last year.
That's when the Chiefs spotted him 24 and beat him 51-31.
Yep.
Yeah, that was that year.
Spotted him 24 in the first quarter, and we're up at halftime.
Winning at the half.
If that happens in the Super Bowl, I would love to see the Eagles race out to 24-3.
I do miss those Chiefs.
And then be down 24-31 or something.
I enjoy the just do whatever you have to Chiefs, but I do miss the boat race you Chiefs. I do miss that.
I think that's another. I mean, we're getting a little up, but last thing, like that's another thing that gets me, is I understand the greatness of the do whatever, win the game at all costs Chiefs, but I didn't mind Mahomes as much. Like when you're lighting up the board for 40 points, that's enjoyable for me to watch. What they're doing now is painful for me to watch.
They're blocking field goals, winning 17-13.
Josh will understand this. Josh will understand this. They went from Bulls dynasty to Spurs dynasty.
Yeah,
they switched. That. They went from Bulls dynasty to Spurs dynasty.
They went from we're just better than you to the fundamentals.
Yes. To the fun. We're hitting bank shots from 12 feet.
Gosh, we're passing it 5 times before we can dribble.
That's not fun for anyone.
We're gonna beat you on free throws.
Yes,
we're gonna beat you by shooting free throws.
Team free throw percentage is 81% every single year.
Oh my god. Tim Duncan. You watch Tim Duncan, and he's having the worst game I've ever seen. You look at the stat sheet; he's got 32 and 17.
Yes.
Like, what?
It's like this dude is slow. He can't move. He's got a knee brace on, and he's dominating.
My gosh, he averaged 36 in this series.
Anything y'all want to get into before we hop out of here?
No.
That'll do it from us. Enjoy the Super Bowl, everybody. Can't wait to see how it comes out. I can't wait to see if we've got the first three-peat ever. I'm just excited to see what we get. And I'm curious what the discourse will be on Monday, because that's part of it. I'm just curious to see what people are going to say about it after it's done.
No matter what happens, Philly is burning their own city down.
Second three-peat ever. Yeah. Philadelphia will not exist after this.
Oh. Well, on that disappointment, it is time to end. Have a good one, everybody. We'll see you on the next episode.